Your mood is the biggest liar you'll ever meet. It tells you that you're tired, that you've done enough, that you'll start tomorrow. It tells you it's not the right time, that you deserve a break, that nobody's watching, so it doesn't matter. But your mood doesn't care about your goals. Your mood doesn't care about your dreams. Your mood only cares about comfort. And comfort is the slowest form of death for anyone chasing greatness. When I talk about sticking to your plan, I'm talking about making a promise to yourself that's stronger than your emotions. Because every day, you're going to feel something different. One day you'll wake up motivated. The next you'll feel empty. One morning, you'll feel like you can take on the world. The next you'll question why you even started. That's the truth of being human. But the people who achieve at a high level, the ones who rise above mediocrity, they don't make decisions based on how they feel. They make decisions based on what they've committed to doing. Most people are slaves to their emotions. They live their lives reacting to the weather, to how tired they are, to whether people notice their effort. But discipline flips that script. Discipline means you act first, think later, you execute whether you feel like it or not. You don't wait for inspiration. You create it through consistent action. And that's where real power comes from. The ability to override your emotions, to move when every part of your body says stop. That's where transformation begins. Think about this. Every time you give in to your mood, you reinforce weakness. You teach your mind that it can control you through feelings. Every skipped workout, every delayed project, every broken promise, it's a message to yourself that comfort wins. But when you follow your plan despite your emotions, you send a different message. I'm in control now. That's how mental toughness is built. Not in moments of motivation, but in the quiet, ordinary, painful repetitions of doing what you said you would do. The truth is, your mood is temporary, but your decisions are permanent. You might feel unmotivated for a day, but if you act on that, the consequences last far longer. The body you want, the business you want, the mindset you want. None of that cares about how you feel right now. Success doesn't care about your mood. It only responds to your consistency. So when you're tired, when you're discouraged, when you feel invisible, that's the test. That's when it counts. There's a psychology behind this too. Your brain is built to protect you, not push you. It wants comfort, safety, routine. It will tell you stories, logical, convincing stories about why you can skip your plan just this once. But the mind is also programmable. Every time you push back against that comfort, you're rewiring yourself. You're teaching your brain that discomfort is not danger, it's growth. You're changing the meaning of pain. That's why discipline feels so unnatural at first. You're literally fighting against your own wiring. But the more you win those battles, the quieter that emotional noise becomes. There's also a philosophical side to this. Most people believe freedom means doing whatever you feel like. But that kind of freedom is a trap. True freedom is self-mastery, the ability to act independently of impulse. When you can say no to laziness, no to weakness, no to temporary feelings, that's real liberation, because now your life isn't random anymore. It's intentional. Every choice becomes a brick in the structure of the person you're building. You see, the plan isn't just a checklist, it's a mirror. It shows you who you really are when the mood fades away. When you say, I'll run 5 miles, and you wake up to rain and exhaustion, that moment reveals your truth. It's easy to be committed when it's convenient. It's hard to be consistent when it's not. And that's where the gap is between average and exceptional. So the next time you feel that resistance, remember, that feeling isn't the enemy. It's the doorway. It's your mood trying to test your loyalty to your purpose. The weak let the mood win. The strong use the mood as fuel. When you can look that feeling in the face and act anyway, that's the moment your plan starts to shape your character. Your mood may lie to you, but your actions will always tell the truth. Stick to the plan no matter how you feel, because feelings fade, but self-respect, most people think having a plan makes life restrictive. That structure kills freedom. But the truth is the exact opposite. Structure is where freedom begins. When you have a clear plan, you eliminate hesitation, and hesitation is where weakness grows. A plan gives you clarity, direction, and purpose. It's a declaration of what you stand for before life tests you. Because make no mistake, life will test you. Every single day, it will throw distractions, temptations, and emotions your way. Without a plan, you get pulled in every direction. With one, you move forward with precision. A lot of people wake up and just see how they feel. They let the day decide for them. But when you're operating like that, you're already behind. You're reacting. Instead of creating, a plan is a pre-decision. It removes the need to negotiate with yourself later. When you write it down, when you commit to it, you're locking in the standard. You're saying, this is what I do no matter what. And when your mind knows there's no way out, it stops wasting energy on excuses. It just executes. Think about how much mental energy you lose every day trying to decide what to do next. Should I work out today? Should I study now or later? Should I eat this or that? Every small decision drains your willpower. That's why by the end of the day, most people are exhausted. Not from doing hard things, but from constantly choosing between comfort and growth. The plan solves that. It's a roadmap that silences indecision. It says, this is what's happening. And your only job is to follow through. That's where the real mental freedom lives. Not in having more options, but in having one clear direction. But here's the thing. Most people don't trust their own plan. They build it, but the moment it gets uncomfortable, they change it. They let emotion rewrite structure. That's like building a ship and then cutting holes in it mid-ocean. Because the waves got too strong. Your plan isn't meant to be flexible to your mood. It's meant to anchor you when everything else starts to shake. The reason Goggins lives by structure is because he understands chaos is always there. Discipline doesn't remove chaos. It gives you a weapon against it. Now, this is where the psychology kicks in. The human brain craves predictability. It wants to know what's coming next. A structured plan reduces uncertainty. And uncertainty is one of the main causes of stress. When your life has order, your mind calms down. It doesn't have to waste time solving problems that shouldn't exist. You start to focus that energy on execution, not hesitation. That's why structure feels like control. Because it is control. It's control over yourself, your time, your direction philosophically. Structure isn't a cage. It's a compass. It's what allows you to move with purpose through a world designed to distract you. Every notification, every opinion, every shortcut is trying to pull you away from what matters. But when you have a plan, you have a filter. You know what deserves your energy and what doesn't. That's the difference between the focused and the lost. The focused build. The lost wander. And there's something deeper here too. The plan is not just about efficiency, it's about identity. When you commit to a plan, you're defining who you are. You're saying, this is the kind of person I choose to be. Not someone who reacts, not someone who waits to feel ready, but someone who moves with intention. Every day you stick to that plan, you reinforce that identity. You're sculpting your character through repetition. That's why Goggins talks about being uncommon among the uncommon. Because most people never reach that level of discipline. They don't have a system to hold them accountable when their emotions waver. But here's the hard truth. The plan only works if you do. You can write down goals, schedules, habits, but they mean nothing without consistent execution. The paper won't save you. The calendar won't do the work. You have to show up, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's lonely. That's where the gap forms between the dreamers and the doers. The dreamers adjust their plan to fit their feelings. The doers adjust their feelings to fit the plan. And when you start living like that, something changes. Your world slows down. You stop chasing motivation because you don't need it anymore. You know what to do and you just do it. You realize structure doesn't confine you. It frees you from the chaos of your own emotions. It gives you back your time, your energy, your peace. That's real freedom. So stop waiting for the perfect moments. Stop letting your mood decide the direction of your life. Build your plan. Trust your plan. Execute your plan. Because structure doesn't limit you. It liberates you from the prison of inconsistency. When you live by your plan, you stop drifting. You start driving. ASTs forever. There's a voice inside your head that you've been listening to your entire life. It's quiet, familiar, and incredibly convincing. It's the voice that says, not today. The voice that says, you've done enough. The one that tells you, it's fine to rest. You'll start again tomorrow. That voice sounds like logic. It sounds like reason. But it's not. It's weakness wearing the mask of comfort. It's the part of you that wants safety more than success. And if you don't learn to master that voice, it will master you. Everyone has that inner dialogue, that constant negotiation between who you are and who you want to be. Goggins calls it the inner bitch voice, and that's exactly what it is. The part of your mind that looks for shortcuts, that searches for an exit when life gets hard. The moment you feel discomfort, it starts talking. It gives you excuses that make perfect sense in the moment. You're tired. You deserve a break. You're not feeling it today. It's okay to stop early. You've been consistent. Missing one day won't matter. But that voice is lying to you. Every time you listen to it, you're trading progress for temporary relief. The key to becoming unstoppable isn't about silencing that voice, because it never goes away. It's about learning to recognize it and act in spite of it. You don't beat it by arguing with it. You beat it by moving. You take action before it can finish its sentence. The second it says, maybe later, you go now. Because hesitation is the doorway through which weakness enters. The longer you sit in that internal conversation, the more power that voice gains. So you cut it off by doing. That's how you regain control. This isn't about aggression. It's about awareness. Most people live their whole lives unaware of that inner battle. They think quitting is a rational decision. They think it's just fatigue or timing or circumstance. But if you zoom in, it's always that same voice. The one that wants you to choose comfort over commitment. Once you learn to hear it clearly, you start to see how often it's been running your life. Every missed workout, every broken plan, every time you said, I'll start tomorrow, that wasn't circumstance. That was the voice winning. The psychology behind this is simple but powerful. Your brain is wired for efficiency, not excellence. It wants to minimize effort and avoid pain. That means every time you step into something uncomfortable, physically, mentally, emotionally, the brain sends that warning signal. It tells you to stop, to pull back. It's not trying to sabotage you. It's trying to protect you. But growth lives beyond that signal. That resistance isn't danger. It's the threshold of transformation. The people who achieve the most are the ones who've learned to recognize that discomfort as a green light.
Идем в желтый тюльпан, давай.
There's also a philosophical dimension here. The voice of weakness is the voice of the lower self. It's primitive, reactive, ruled by fear and pleasure. The higher self, the one that lives by discipline and vision, speaks quietly but firmly. It says, do it anyway. It doesn't argue. It doesn't explain. It just knows what must be done. The challenge is that the lower voice screams, while the higher one whispers. You have to get quiet enough, strong enough, disciplined enough to hear that higher voice and obey it. That's how you start living with intention instead of impulse. Once you start mastering that internal dialogue, everything changes. You begin to see that every time you act against the voice of weakness, you're building momentum. You start to develop what Goggins calls the savage mind, a mental toughness that no longer needs motivation to move. You start to trust yourself, not because of how you feel, but because of how you act. You no longer wait for permission from your emotions. You give yourself orders and follow them, no matter what. That's real confidence, not a feeling, but a reputation you build with yourself through relentless follow through. It's not easy. That voice will always try to find a new angle, a new justification. It will remind you of past effort. It will try to guilt you into softness. It will use logic against you, but you can't reason with weakness. You kill it through repetition. Every day you choose action over comfort, it gets quieter. Every day you follow through, your threshold for discomfort grows. Over time, that voice doesn't disappear. It just loses its power. It becomes background noise, and you stop obeying it. And here's the truth. That voice never completely dies because it's supposed to be there. It's the constant test of who's in control, you or your emotions. And that's what makes the battle meaningful. Because every day you win that fight, you become sharper, stronger, more self-directed. You stop being controlled by moods and start being driven by purpose. You start living on your terms. So when that voice whispers, not today, let that be your cue to go harder. When it says, you've done enough, that's when you do one more. When it says you can't, that's when you prove it wrong. Don't argue with weakness. Outrun it. Because the moment you stop negotiating with that inner voice, you become unstoppable. When you live by your plan instead of your mood, you're making a choice that most people never make, the choice to live for the long term instead of the moment. The world around you is built to distract you, to make you chase instant pleasure, instant recognition, instant results. But real growth doesn't happen instantly. It happens slowly, quietly, through years of consistent action and delayed gratification. That's why so few ever reach the level they dream about, because they keep making decisions for the comfort of now instead of the freedom of later. Your feelings belong to the present. They pull you toward comfort, toward escape, toward whatever relieves the tension of the moment. But your plan belongs to the future. It's the map that leads you to who you're supposed to become. And every time you choose your mood over your plan, you're trading the future for a temporary fix. It's the psychological equivalent of burning your house to stay warm for a night. It feels good now, but it costs you everything later. Goggins talks about this in every form of his message. It's about choosing the harder road, because the harder road is the one that builds something permanent. Anyone can work hard for a day, a week, or even a month when the energy is high. But staying committed for years, when the motivation has died and life starts throwing punches, that's where real transformation lives. The plan isn't just about discipline. It's about building a legacy within yourself. It's a promise you make to your future self that you'll do what needs to be done today, even if you hate every second of it. There's a kind of psychological maturity that comes from thinking long term. Most people live in reaction mode, constantly adjusting their actions based on how they feel or what's happening around them. But when you shift your focus to the bigger picture, you start seeing pain and struggle differently. You realize that every moment of discomfort is an investment. Every sacrifice today buys strength for tomorrow. Every disciplined decision builds equity in your future. That's how high performers think. They're not chasing pleasure. They're building power. Philosophically, this is about rejecting the illusion of the present. Your mood tells you the story of now. I'm tired. I'm stressed. I deserve a break. Your purpose tells you the story of eternity. I'm building something that will outlast this moment. When you live by your plan, you're refusing to let temporary emotions destroy permanent progress. You're living with foresight instead of impulse. That's the difference between people who drift through life and people who shape their destiny. But here's what makes it hard. The rewards of discipline are invisible in the beginning. You can go weeks, months, even years doing the right thing and feel like nothing's changing. That's where most people quit. They confuse silence with failure. They don't realize that the foundation is forming beneath the surface. Growth doesn't announce itself. It accumulates quietly. The work you're doing today might not pay off tomorrow, but it will pay off. The future always remembers the effort you put in when no one was watching. From a psychological standpoint, every time you stick to your plan, despite your mood, you're reinforcing a new identity. You're proving to yourself that you can be trusted, that you're not controlled by your emotions. That's where real confidence comes from, not from success, but from self-trust. Knowing that you'll show up regardless of how you feel gives you a sense of control that most people never experience. The mood becomes noise, the plan becomes truth. And the truth is, long-term thinking is a form of freedom. When you stop chasing instant gratification, you stop being manipulated by it. You're no longer controlled by hunger, boredom, validation, or comfort. You make decisions based on what aligns with your mission, not your mood. That's not just discipline, that's enlightenment. Because when you detach from the need for instant pleasure, you gain something far more powerful. Inner peace. You stop needing life to be easy because you're finally strong enough to handle it when it's not. This is what separates the disciplined from the drifting. One lives by purpose, the other by impulse. One sees the mountain and keeps climbing. The other looks at the pain and turns back. The difference isn't talent, it's perspective. It's how far ahead you're willing to think, how much you're willing to endure for a future you can't yet see. So when your mood tries to pull you off course, remember what's really at stake. Every decision either brings you closer to your future or keeps you trapped in you.